party peoples. Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for coming back for another episode of BrassReel tonight, where hopefully one day this will be your main hub to find out all the news and chatter that's coming to the big screen and everything at home to stream. Nailed it! Yeah, that's going to be my new tagline. So anyways, guys, how's everybody doing? Going well for y'all, I hope. It's hot as ball around over here. God, like 102 today. So I guess we'll see how that goes. I tell you what, it's been a mild summer, though, compared to a lot of summers we've had in the past. Dallas is usually, really, really hot. Like there's been a couple of summers in the 80s and one here recently, the past few years ago, where we had 110 degrees plus. So, and most of y'all are watching this are probably Dallas fans or Dallasites anyways, my 6 fans. So you all know that. I don't know who I'm talking to. But to all the international fans listening, I want to tell them how it is over here in D-Town. Well, guys, starting off real quick, I'm just going to kind of get right into it. We got a little bit of alarming news today. Bob Odenkirk just collapsed last night on the set of Better Call Saul. It's the last season they're filming. And you guys, I'm sure you're familiar with Better Call Saul or Bob Odenkirk. If you're not familiar with Better Call Saul, he was definitely, that became a big deal because of Breaking Bad. And we all know Breaking Bad. I think we do. But man, I'm worried about this guy, to be honest with you, just collapsing. And they still haven't told us why. Still haven't told us what's going on, what happened to him. He just collapsed in the middle of filming. Now, I know Bob Odenkirk from back in the day when he was a Saturday Night Live writer. I don't mean like know him like I know him. I'm saying, but I know who he is, and I was always a fan of him. And then he had the Mr. Show with Bob and David with him and David Cross. And apparently all those guys are wishing him well right now too, because, they all just found out about it and they're all good friends to me. But he was also on Conan O'Brien. Hang on one second, and I'm just going to read off a list of his credentials. So, okay, he was on Saturday Night Live, did Mr. Show with Bob and David. Also did, I don't know if you guys remember that show, Dr. Katz. It was a pretty cool show. It was kind of funny. He wrote some episodes for that. He was a writer of the Dana Carvey Show, the Ben Stiller Show, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, the Dennis Miller Show. I don't know if you guys remember a show called Get a Life. He was a writer for that. And then he transitioned into acting. And so acting sort of became his big thing after he was a writer successfully for a long time. And still he writes stuff. They also had another show, him and David Cross on Netflix called With Bob and David. Instead of Mr. Show with Bob and David, it was just called With Bob and David. And funny stuff. It's kind of kooky humor, what they do with that, but it's definitely funny humor. Original, and Bob Odenkirk's been around for a while. And so the fact that, he's not even that old. And the fact that he just kind of dropped dead out of nowhere, not dropped dead, just dropped and collapsed out of nowhere right in the middle of filming on set. That's just worrisome. So who knows? They haven't disclosed anything yet of what happened, but God, I hope it wasn't like an aneurysm or something like that. Something that hopefully it was like low blood sugar or something, something that you can recover from essentially pretty fast. You just got a little ill, but man, I just really hope it's nothing serious. So we're thinking about you, Bob. My heart really goes out to you. I know you got a lot of other fans out there that love you. So nobody cares about the show at this point. We just want you to get better. So love you, buddy. Hope everything's okay for sure. And, well wishes to the family and all that. Another kind of sad stuff too, just while I'm talking about it. I don't know if you guys were Slipknot fans, but the drummer and one of the founding members of Slipknot, Joey Jordison, died at age 46 in his sleep. Now, he had actually had some complications prior, which made him leave the band. He had developed some sort of neurological disease to where he couldn't move one of his legs even. So he couldn't even play. That's definitely disheartening. I'm sorry to hear that again for the family, for everybody involved. That's terrible. That's tragic. And you don't ever see that stuff coming. He was sick a little bit for sure, but you expect the people that have diseases or a condition like that, you expect them to just be able to sort of live with it. And man, you don't expect them just to go like that quick. And he would say what you will about Slipknot, but they were a really influential band. They were definitely big on the metal scene. They weren't necessarily the most original metal band of all time when it came to their music, but if you guys have ever seen Slipknot live, you know what I'm talking about. It is one of the most entertaining live shows I've ever seen. High energy. The theatrics they put into this stuff is like Cirque du Soleil type theatrics. It's amazing what they pull off. That alone, the shows were awesome. And they got a lot of people into metal. There's a lot of people, their first big metal bands they ever listened to was Slipknot was one of them. For me, I grew up more on like the Pantera, Testament, Sepultura, Metallica, of course, things like that when it comes to metal. And I liked Slipknot when they came out, but once I saw them live, I was really like, wow, you guys, the way that y'all can keep up this energy the entire time, and they wear all these masks and stuff, as you can see in this picture. They sort of had like reoccurring characters that they all talked and that they never talked. The only person that ever talked was the singer, Corey Taylor. But even then, he kept his mask on all the time. They all kept their mask on all the time. They were all these just extremely theatrical dudes that would like punch each other and beat each other up and be like extremely just, I don't know any other way to say it, but just like circusy and theatrical on stage. And he was a badass drummer though. I mean, to keep up with some of the music that they played, I mean, he was definitely a solid drummer. He was one of the founding members, very influential to a lot of people. So R.I.P. Joey, you'll be missed, man. That's again, unfortunate that you just passed like that. And 46, it's way too young. I mean, most of the time anybody passing is too young, but that 46 that's only 6 years away from me. So I'm only 40. So I mean, that's just way too young. So R.I.P. buddy. Heart goes out to you and your family and Corey Taylor, the band, all that stuff. I know y'all are dealing with a lot. Well, getting on to some lighthearted stuff, getting on to some more fun stuff. Well, let's talk about some actual movies. That wasn't movie stuff, but I just had to mention that because Slipknot, everybody knows who they are. And Corey Taylor, even the singer for Slipknot, he's a huge horror movie fan. He's on horror movie documentaries and stuff. And like, he's extremely knowledgeable in horror films. I'm a horror movie nerd. So I just sort of thought like it was by osmosis connected. And I just needed to mention that, pay respects. Now, so the new Ghostbusters trailer came out. We talked about that yesterday. Super pumped about it. I can't wait. Super pumped. Looks awesome. A lot more heartfelt feel than I expected to it. A lot more depth than I expected to it. More mystery and sense of wonder. Definitely doesn't look like a cash grab. Looks like something really, really meaningful. We saw a lot of cool, like new images of like the car, the Ecto-1, and doing some cool stuff with like them sitting on the side and then them rolling out this little RC thing that they have, this little remote control device that it looked like it's going to be like rolling with them. I remember as a kid just loving little gadget things like that. So for me, it's bringing back a bunch of nostalgia, but I can't imagine what it's doing for a lot of young kids, especially if their parents were into Ghostbusters. And that's the thing. I got to talk about that for a second. With Ghostbusters, the last one coming out, the one with the girls, the one that was not good, in my opinion. Are people burnt out on Ghostbusters at this point, or are they excited about this movie? I know that I am super excited about it, and us fanboys are super excited about it. And anybody, grow up in the 80s or was in part of any sort of pop culture in the 80s was very aware of Ghostbusters. And they've kept it alive in certain ways with cartoons, video games, things like that. And just merchandise in general, Halloween, it's always fun to see a Ghostbuster here and there. You always see that stuff at Comic Cons and all that. I'm just curious if it's going to be kind of like the G.I. Joe thing where it's like people don't care anymore, or is this going to truly bring resurgence back into that franchise, bring something new to the franchise, kind of taking something from an old movie and not changing anything, but adding another layer to it that we haven't seen yet. And that's what this one looks like it's going to do. It's going to add a layer of depth to it. It's going to add a layer of a new mystery and window, opening up this idea of something else than only what we saw in 1 and 2. Because if you just think of 1 and 2 existing, it's sort of like everything they did is wrapped up in that and then it's over. This is opening up some other chapter that it's like, wow, what if they could do more even after this one? And Paul Rudd and Finn could all team up a lot. Now, reason I'm talking about Ghostbusters is that I'm going to show you a picture here is that we know that Dan Aykroyd was at the end of the trailer picking up that phone at that bar saying, hello, we're closed. So Gozer is this picture here on the left. I've got it just kind of in a long rectangle part of the picture. But that's Gozer. That was the villain of Ghostbusters, the first one. Now, on the main part of this picture, the red part is a part of the new trailer, Afterlife. And see that square of the hand right there? I've got this little square outline of a hand creeping up this mountain. That's the only thing you can see in the frame. And in the other part of the frame, you see this huge like demon monster or whatever. So that looks like Gozer's hand, in my opinion. I mean, you guys agree with me? Anybody agree? I think it looks like Gozer. If they bring Gozer back into this, I think that'll be really cool. And that'll be like some sort of cool connection. And I'll be curious to see why Gozer is connecting itself to the Spangler family or to, you know what I'm saying? Or to that specific group of people. Or are they after the X something in the Ecto-1 or something that's, you know, in a ghost trap still there? Because it shows in the trailer them pulling a ghost trap out. So anyways, this hand looks like Gozer to me. I'm really excited to see if they're going to bring a lot of stuff back from the original movies and what kind of connection and Easter eggs there's going to be. Because if they're going to do that, they need to two things. They need to do that just so you can feel that connection and so it feels a part of the franchise. And they also need to do it so they can make sure people know that that last Ghostbusters movie didn't exist. Sorry to anybody who likes that movie, but I'm just, it's a disgrace to the franchise, in my opinion. I love all those actors in it, all the girls in it. They're awesome, man. They're all funny people, except for Leslie Jones. I don't really like her a whole lot, but not as a person, as a comedian. I just don't get her jokes. I get all the other ones, but I think that they need to cancel that movie out in some sort of fashion. You know what I mean? I'm glad it's there for more of a female empowerment style of Ghostbusters. And I don't have a problem with girls being I don't have a problem with girls being Ghostbusters. Let me make that clear. I never have a problem with gender being anything. I just like the fact that it was so departed. I didn't like the fact that it was so departed from the other two, from the original movies. It was sort of like trying to start over again. And you had these cameos with Bill Murray and stuff in it. And it was not as themselves from the original movies. It was just kind of silly, in my opinion. It felt more like a kid's movie than a good movie. And the Ghostbusters movie, while they do appeal to kids, they're good movies. You know what I mean? And again, some people don't like the sequel like they like the first one. I still like it a lot. I think it's great. It's got that part with Bill Murray when he's like, the old man-eating toaster bit. If you've seen the movie or if you're a fan, you know what I'm talking about. But I've been wondering since we saw Dan Aykroyd, and again, I've watched the trailer multiple times now. I haven't seen Bill Murray. People are saying that he's in it. He's in the movie. He's in the trailer as far as his picture being shown. I see that, but I don't see him actually showing up in the trailer. And we see Dan Aykroyd's hand pick up the phone and we hear the voice. We see that. Well, they just released the toys on accident. We've talked about this before, that sometimes they'll release toys before the movie comes out. And this is Ghostbusters Afterlife toys that are just coming out. Now look at this. This is Winston. This is Vakeman. And this is why am I drawing a blank on the characters' names? I'm so sorry. I'm terrible. Anyways, that's all of them right there. And they got old hair and they got old gray hair. So that's obviously new picture, especially Bill Murray. That's white hair that he's got there. And if you look at Stan on the side, he's got gray hair at the bottom, kind of like Reed Richards style. The same thing with Dan Aykroyd's character. So all those toys look like that they're going to be in the movie. I mean, it looks like that's going to be the original team of Ghostbusters in the film. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if that was done on purpose. Maybe it was, but if it is, it's kind of spoiling maybe something that could have been big in the film. I don't care. I just hope that they're in it, honestly. I want nothing more for them to show up at some point, and I don't want it to be shoehorned in. I don't want it to be just like shoved in your face, but I do think that if they can do it right, it'll be magnificent, and that'll make them be in all three Ghostbusters films. Yeah, Harold Ramis can't be in it, but that's just because he died. What else are you gonna do? But at least have the other three, and his character in this movie is dead, so that's cool. It's his grandchildren. Anyways, show you one more time there. I think that looks kind of cool, and it's just making me excited. I'm really excited to see what's going to be up with Bill Murray. Like I said, I thought it'd be cool to have him as a ghost. That was his idea a while back, but I just want him to be in the movie. That's just my only thing. And I heard somebody say this the other day. It's just like, not only is this a Jason Reitman movie, because Jason Reitman, the director, I mean, he did Juno, Up in the Air, Thank You for Smoking. I mean, the guy's done phenomenal movies. And so him doing this movie, I think he's very aware of not only it's his father's film, so his father is always, like I said, beating down his throat, like, you better make this good. But he knows the gravity of it and what it means to fans because he's grown up with it. So I just think that there's nobody else better to direct it. Not just because he's his son. If it was just his son and his son wasn't a director, that wouldn't matter. I'd be like, I'm kind of worried now. But the fact that he's a phenomenal director and he's Ivan Reitman's son, I think it's a shoe in. So excited about that. You guys think that Bill Murray is going to show up as a Ghostbuster? It's kind of looking like it now. So Spider-Man, you guys know that the Spider-Man universe is all over the place right now. And with everything about to be happening, we don't know if that Morbius movie's coming out and going to be connecting with Michael Keaton being in the trailer. We don't know if Spider-Man is going to show up in the new Venom movie at some point. We don't know what's going to go down. I do feel like it is all going to connect because of the multiverse thing happening. Well, this just came in. They're going to do a Black Cat movie. Now, this is a picture from the video games, the Spider-Man Sony video games with Black Cat behind him. But Black Cat has always sort of been like his other love interest. Felicia, it's always been his other love interest. And this girl from Rogue One, Felicity Jones, is up to play her. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure if she looks like Black Cat to me, but they are making a Black Cat movie. And man, I loved Rogue One. And that's probably where most everybody knows Felicity Jones from, is Rogue One. I thought she did a great job in that movie. I thought that movie was fantastic. Thought she was a good actress, but man, Black Cat to me is more of like this super voluptuous, I don't know, kind of slutty. At least that's the way I've always seen her in the comics. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but even look at this picture here. It looks like she's just kind of like, hey, what up, Spidey? And I'm just worried that she might not pull that off. Now, this is not going to be a Disney Plus movie. Sony and Disney do have a working relationship, but the only time Disney's attached to any of these movies is if they are connected to the MCU. Like Venom, as of right now, the first one, it hasn't been connected to the MCU. So the only way that they would connect any of that stuff and put her in a Disney movie would be is if there was some overarching narrative that was just huge, big story event happening where everything's merging up. But I think that this, just like Morbius, is going to be its own solo Spider-Man film because they have their Spider-Man universe that they're making all these movies with. They're doing a Craven movie, all that stuff. I think it is going to be a solo Spider-Man film. And I do think that Spider-Man will eventually connect with her at some point. And I do think that Spider-Man will connect with Venom at some point. And if they do all converge in the MCU, I think it'll just be a little bit. I don't think it'll be forever. I think it'll be just for a minute with like an event, you know, like this multiverse thing could like make them have a pool to play in for a little while. And then all of a sudden the multiverse gets under control. They get it all back to normal and everybody goes back to their own universe. If they did that, that'd be really cool way to interact the two universes, Sony and Disney, fully with Venom, Carnage, Black Cat, all that stuff, Craven, whatever you wanted, all the Spider-Man villains you wanted to use. And it wouldn't commit Sony completely to Disney forever, and they don't want to do that. They still want to do all their own films without Disney. And I think if they can figure out something to just kind of like every now and then being like, all right, here comes our event movies. So like every few years you have some Sony and Disney event films, but then every, all the other times while those event films aren't happening, Disney has their own films and Sony has their own films. I just think that'd be a good idea. I'm just curious to see what you guys think about. Are y'all interested in a Black Cat movie? Does anybody care about a Black Cat movie? Venom worked because it's arguably the most famous Spider-Man villain out there. I just don't know how well a Black Cat movie is going to do, especially since we already had a Catwoman movie with Catwoman that was terrible. And let's face it, half the layman people out there that aren't comic book fans or comic book readers or anything like that just casually see these comic book movies, they probably don't know the difference between Black Cat and Catwoman. So they're like, I can't believe they're doing that again. I mean, I'll go see it, and I'm excited about anything that they do comic book related most of the time, especially with those characters, but they're not all that great all the time. And look, she was actually in Amazing Spider-Man 2 as the character Felicia, but she wasn't Black Cat. They just were trying to implement characters here and there in that movie, which was a failed franchise. I liked the first one a lot. The second one wasn't quite as good, but I still thought it was, they weren't bad. I wish they would have just incorporated that into the MCU. It might have worked, but then we wouldn't have gotten Tom Holland. So what am I talking about? Anyways, Black Cat movie coming up. Also, in some really big news in one of my favorite franchises of all time, that's a small franchise, but we got a new Predator film in the works, and I've known about this for a while, but it's going to be a prequel, and it will be titled Skull. I don't know how everybody feels about that, since we've got a movie called Skulls from the 90s. And then we've got, Kong Skull Island. So the movie's called Skull. Now, I get that. The whole thing with predators is they hunt skulls. That's their thing. They hunt the skulls of different species around the galaxy. That's their whole game. That's what they do. They're predators, and they just try to keep upping it and upping it. Now, Predator, for me, growing up, Predator was it. Predator was awesome. As soon as I saw Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, not only was I an Arnold Schwarzenegger diehard fan from then on out, but I also was just like, who the hell is this director of this movie? Where did this movie come from? It's amazing. And I saw this, it came out in 87, and I saw this the same year that I saw Batman, 1989. So I didn't see Predator in the theater, but I saw it by the time it came out on video, and I was watching it in my friend's house. His dad had it on. And for some reason, I was like, I'd always seen this in the movie store. I'd always seen the cover of Predator on the shelf, the box, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's in that, it's in that red, and it's all, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, but it's like heat wave looking, hyper wave, heat vision. There we go. Heat vision. God, terrible. My brain just farts up when I get on this live stream. Usually I'm very well spoken, but yeah, that cover with Arnold and the heat vision and everything, because that's how the Predators view everything. That was amazing. That was awesome. But I never watched the movie. But once I saw that movie at my friend's house, not only did it scare the shit out of me, but I recognized how good this movie is, how well done it is. I was like, it's scary, but it's not a horror film, but it does have some parts that are kind of bloody, but they're not really bloody. But man, that monster is scary. And then you had the whole thing, once you see him in the end, the reveal of the monster was just so original. I just couldn't get over it. I loved it. And all, get to the chopper, all that stuff. Come on, I'm here, do it now. Kill me. All that was awesome. And then they made, well, don't get me wrong, Predator 2 was fun, but it wasn't the same as that. But then they made Predators, which I enjoyed Predators. I thought Predators was really good. It's the one that was directed by Nimrod Antal, but it was produced by Robert Rodriguez, starring Adrian Brody, had Topher Grace and Lawrence Fishburne in there. I thought it was a good movie. I really, really enjoyed that movie. I've got it on Blu-ray. It's the one where the Predators like kidnap people from their planets and bring them to another planet, and then they hunt them on that planet. And it's like all these different criminals. So there's like an evil doctor. There's, again, just all kinds of different criminals that they're trying to hunt. I thought it was great. I thought it had some cool things in there. There was a lot of rehash moments from the original movie in that, but that's kind of what they were doing, kind of what they were doing on purpose. But again, Predators, produced by Robert Rodriguez, starring Adrian Brody, I thought was really good. I really enjoyed that. And Predator is huge. Predator, especially Alien, both from the same companies. That's how they were able to do crossover movies in the past. They're owned by Fox, and Disney acquired them. And Disney had no intention of leaving these characters behind at all. They bought Fox for a reason. They bought their properties. And a lot of people don't know this, and I may have mentioned this on the show before, but Disney, only thing they did with Fox is they took away the Fox name. They got rid of some properties here and there. They did kind of just sell them off individually here and there, but not all of them. A lot of them they kept, especially like X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, all that stuff. But they kept Predator and Alien most definitely. Those are extremely profitable, extremely popular. I mean, they keep on making games and they keep on trying to do stuff with these characters. Most of the time, they just don't have the right formula to come up with a good movie. And with the transition of Fox being bought by Disney and that whole thing happened, they just kind of put that on hold for a minute. But Fox still exists. It's just not Fox. It's called 20th Century Studios, and it's owned by Disney. So Disney just didn't come in there and just be like, put their Disney brand on everything. They bought that studio to do more with it, the same way they bought Marvel Studios. So if you look at it, you still have that opening thing that you still have that whole thing coming up before their movies. It just doesn't say Fox anymore. It says 20th Century Studios. Same font and logo setup and everything, same graphic. It just doesn't say 20th Century Fox. It says 20th Century. So I think that that's still good. They're going to keep all that stuff, and they're still going to make R-rated Predator films. And this one's going to be a prequel. I'm not sure that at first I thought they were going to be going back to like medieval times or something, but apparently they're going back to like the Indian times. Excuse me. They're going back to the Native American times. Sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful by any means. That's just that old habit, but they're going back to the times where it's like Native Americans and there's an old Native American chief and it's like a woman, apparently. And it's like an Apache woman or a Navajo woman. And she's supposed to be hunting or being hunted by these predators. And it's supposed to be the first time they come down to Earth. And it's going to be called Skulls. It is an origin story. And look, the Predator has been in many forms. We've seen many forms of the Predator. We've seen this one right here, which is from Predators. That was like one of the main evil ones. This is just sort of the generic Predator right there from part one. We've seen them with different weapons and showing up and just really taking that. I think this is from Predators, the newest one. But we've seen so many incarnations of it. And I'm just ready to see what they're going to do with this old school first Predator that's ever come down from anywhere. The old school first Predator that's ever existed. I think that's amazing. And I'm just ready to see how dark it's going to be, how primal it's going to be. The one thing I don't want them to do is make it more of a, like when you had like Batman Origins come out, that was a really bad prequel game because you could do more with his suit. So like they made his gadgets and everything way cooler, but it's a prequel. So it's like, that doesn't make sense to me. It should be that like you have less to work with. And so I hope that the Predators are not as evolved in this one. I hope that they're, like I said, more primal acting, and I think it'll be cool. I love Predator. I mean, come on. Arnold is one of the best of all time. And that movie is one of the quintessential action films out there. I think everybody can agree with me that Predator, same director as Die Hard, but a lot of action movies wouldn't exist because of those two movies. A lot of action movies follow the template of those two films, not the plot, but the template and the way those movies are made. And look, this one right here that came out recently, The Predator, this was a disgrace. This was terrible. The one written and directed by Shane Black, really bad. I think Fred Decker even joined him on that, but it just misfire, 100% misfire. Everything sucked about it. It was almost like a comedy. The Predator wasn't scary. The Predator wasn't menacing. I mean, that's what you want to be afraid of, the Predator in the movies. And the idea of this humanoid looking monster that's not necessarily, it is gross, but it's also cool looking with that mask and everything. It's a one of a kind character. And the how you can ruin that so bad by trying to make the movie funny was just a disgrace to me. And I do like Hoyd Boyd Holbrook, I think is his name, Boyd Holbrook. That was the guy who was the main character in this, and he was also the villain in Logan. Boyd Holbrook, yeah, that's his name. I like him as an actor, and he was the main guy in this. He just had a bad movie to work with, in my opinion. So just don't mess it up, guys. Do a cool original prequel. Make the Predator menacing, making primal, making not as updated technologically as he would be now, because back in the day it's old school, and make it scary, make it dark. Don't give us a crap PG-13 Predator, which I don't think you will now. I think you're in good hands, but I just don't want him to mess it up anymore because that last one sucked. All right, moving on. Last night we got our first teaser trailer for American Horror Story double feature. Oh boy, does it look good. Now, it's a teaser trailer, and it's definitely misleading and also leading. You never can tell with these guys. American Horror Story always gives you wacky imagery, like this image right here. It's just, there's so much to talk about. So I will say this. In the past, they've done fake imagery to lead you a different direction. Like one of the seasons, I think season 6, they did like 8 or 9 different teaser posters that all made you think it was going to be like that led you to believe, oh, this plot must be based around this. Like the imagery led you to think it was based around a certain plot line, and each poster was different. So one made you think it was going to be about demons, something. One made you think it was going to be about like an 80s serial killer. One made you think it was going to be about like some Manson stuff. I mean, they just went all over the place that really pulled you in so many different directions. You're like, I have no clue what this is going to be about. And they only had one poster that was correct. So this one does seem to be in the same vein. They're showing these 2 creatures, and we know that the double feature is going to be one based on sea and one based on sand. And they even gave me the names of them last night. And I'm sorry, I don't have them pulled up, but I'm wondering if they're going to merge, but one of them is going to be like sea creature and one of them is going to be alien. Like, I don't know if it's like Roswell stuff or something, but they've got this idea in the teaser trailer, and none of it's going to be actual footage from the show. That's how they always do it. They got this image that makes it seem like there's going to eventually be some sort of hybrid of both. Like, this is a really cool image right here. You've got like the alien sticking out the top of the sand, and it's halfway, but underneath it's a creature underwater, but it's all connected. And like, that looks really cool. That's some awesome imagery right there. And they aren't doing any other style of imagery. Like this right here, it looks like an alien working on somebody else. And it looks like that thing might be a sea creature. If you look at the mouth on the thing laying down, it looks like it's got sharp teeth, like one of those sea creatures. So that's, look, American Horror Story they kind of tapped into aliens a little bit in season 2, but very little. And it was very skeptical. You know, you didn't know if it actually happened or not. This one, they're showing little green men. I mean, they're showing monster aliens right here. So if they really tap into that, I'm excited to see what American Horror Story has to do with that, because look, everything American Horror Story does, I don't think is awesome, but I love it. I think that they at least try to do something original every time. And it is always messed up. It's always jacked up. It's always creepy. It always will leave you feeling disturbed, which I like about those films. That's why I watch horror a lot of the time. But it's not always knocking them out of the park with the ending, but I always enjoy the experiences with them. And I do love some of the seasons. Some of the seasons I think are excellent. A lot of them I think are excellent. There's just a few that I'm kind of on, especially Apocalypse. I didn't really care for Apocalypse a whole lot, and I didn't like the ending of 1984. I was loving the whole thing until the ending, and it's like, yeah, that sucked. Seems like you kind of gave up on the writing there. But you guys excited about New American Horror Story double feature? I know I am. I'm super pumped, and I love the color schemes they're going with. I mean, it's very in right now, what color schemes are in. I mean, I love all the purple and the pinks and the teals and the blues and all that. And they're definitely rolling with that, especially here. So I'm pumped up, especially after that teaser. And we'll probably get another trailer before it starts. I mean, it starts in a month, less than a month. So we'll probably get another trailer that actually shows some actual footage, but I bet it's only going to be like 2 weeks before. So in another week and a half or something like that, we might get another trailer that's actual footage. But hopefully they don't show us too much and we just are confused and just watching the whole deal and want to tune in every week. And now it's going to be on Hulu the next day, which that's exciting. I'm really, really happy about that. Used to, it didn't, up until now, it hasn't done that. Last season, I had to buy it on Amazon to watch it the next morning when it came out because I didn't have cable, all that stuff. And I do have Hulu and a lot of streaming services, but it wasn't actually coming on to anything streaming and then being shown the next day. You had to wait till that full season got on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. Now, next day on Hulu. So that's exciting. Still keeping with some horror, though. Tell you what, you guys seen the trailer for this? Lamb with Noomi Rapace. Rapace. I think it's Rapace. She was the girl that was in Prometheus. Okay, first off, just by looking at the cover of this movie, it would definitely deceive you about what this movie's about. I just found out what it's about, and I just saw the trailer. The trailer came out yesterday, the day before, but I just now watched it earlier this morning. So it's by A24, and not only is it getting great reviews, but people don't want to really say much about the movie because they feel like it's going to give away spoilers immediately. That's how engaging and enthralling it is from the get-go, people are saying. And it's definitely got an eerie and dark, disturbing feel, which, again, I don't know why I enjoy watching movies like that, but I'm not the only one. They make these things for a reason. They have a huge audience. But it's not about, okay, it is about a lamb, but I will say this. It does show you from right off that it's about like a half human, half lamb creature that it's a half baby, half lamb that this couple has. And I'm showing you the picture right now because that's like a half. You have to see the trailer. It looks wild. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch this movie. I have to see what's up with this movie because these two guys, I'm not sure who the other guy is in there, but Noomi Rapace is the main character. She's the mom, and she's the mother of this child, which is half baby, half lamb. You know how like a minotaur is half horse, half, like it's mythological. That's what this is, but it's half lamb. That's crazy. And you know, it sounds ridiculous. It almost sounds like when somebody told me about Human Centipede, I was like, are you kidding me? What? They're making a movie about that? And if somebody were to tell me, yeah, it's a horror movie about someone who has a kid and the kid is half baby, half lamb, that would be wacky to me. I don't know what I would think. I'd be like, I'm not going to greenlight that. That's for sure. But man, when you see this trailer, not only do you want to see it, but it looks twisted. It looks messed up. And obviously there's something else going on in the movie that we don't know about. And by the critics and what they're saying that there is, and that's why they don't want to say anything about the movie except for the fact that it's good and very effective and it's messed up and dark and you need to see it. So the lamb, not the lamb. I'm excited. I think it looks great. And look, half lamb, half human baby. I mean, that's what it is about. So I guess we'll see. But I mean, it is getting good reviews. And look, Rapace is a good actor. I like Noomi Rapace. I think and I am saying Noomi. It's not Naomi. It's Noomi. I think she's great. Very talented. Now, this does look like it could be a foreign language film. Sometimes it's not that I have anything against reading. I've said this. Movies are a visual art to me, and I don't like to be distracted by having to read something that is supposed to be conveyed by just looking at it and listening. To me, that's what movies are supposed to be. Again, it's not that I can't read subtitles. I can, and I don't mind it, especially if it's in a movie where there's a person that's, you know, an English speaking person in a foreign country. I don't like it if it's everybody's just speaking English. I think it's more effective if, you know, like the person is not around English speaking people because they're in a foreign country, things like that. That I like. But if it's a movie, like I've said, Pan's Labyrinth, and you're having to read the bottom of the screen the whole time, and that movie is clearly a visually based film. To me, I feel like I'm being robbed and cheated the whole time. I'm like, oh, but I'm missing stuff. I'm having to read. That's my only thing. And so with this movie, by looking at the trailers, it does look very visually interesting. And I just, like I said, reading the bottom of the screen in foreign films don't ruin it for me at all, but it does take it out. It does take me out of it, the experience a little bit. It does make me a little less into it because it's like, all right, let me read. And sometimes I'll miss stuff because I'm reading because I want to watch the performance on the screen. Like if someone's acting really well, I don't want to have to be reading the bottom of the screen and missing like their tears and all their crying and all this stuff because I'm having to read. To me, that's just distracting. Again, I'm not a dummy. I still love movies and I still can enjoy foreign films. It just takes me out of it just a little. But speaking of other trailers, I talked about this one a while back, and this one, a new one just came out, and I just watched it this morning, of The Night House. God, this one looks jacked up. Jeez, it looks jacked up. It follows a widow, Rebecca Hall, who is up there. You see her in the picture. She was in Godzilla versus Kong, one of the people that had very little screen time in that movie. And when I say very little screen time, nobody had a lot of screen time. There was like 50 people in it that you were focusing on. And granted, those movies, you don't go see it for the actors. You go see it for the monsters, and everybody's acting and stuff was bad in that. But I do believe that she is a good actor. I do think that she can hold her on and she's believable. She looks like she's going to be good in this, but the whole deceased husband's house that she's uncovering secrets in, that's like the premise of the film. That looks pretty interesting. And look, they're saying that it's going to be the year's best horror film, one of the year's best, but maybe even the best. It looks jacked up. I gotta say, I mean, now that this new trailer's come out, even the poster, look at this. I mean, there's this whole reverse thing going on. If you look at the title of Night House and you look at like the G, it's backwards and the S is backwards. But her hand, it's hard to even describe. It's just something you have to see. Go look at the poster of the Night House, and it's very interesting. And once you watch the trailer and you see the connections in the movie, in the trailer to this poster, even, it doesn't explain anything at all. It gets you like, what the hell is going on? And to me, it looks very creepy. The idea that somebody's watching you and something's controlling something that you can't control, I mean, that's pretty creepy. And I'm not talking about like conjuring and ghosts and stuff like that and demons. I'm talking about, this is like next level supernatural stuff. Like somebody figured out some stuff in like a Pandora's box and opened up something they shouldn't have. And now it's even further than we're supposed to be going. I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking from it. It's what it looks like. But I do think Rebecca Hall is going to be great in it. I think she's like I said, great actor, you know, not hard to look at. And she looks great in the trailer. The trailer looks like it's going to be good. And it doesn't look like a typical haunted house film. I think that the haunted house thing is sort of the icing on the cake. Or excuse me, it's sort of the layer of it, just the bottom layer, just being like, yeah, it's a haunted house film, but it's way more to it than that because of the reason of why it's haunted and what's going on with this house. I don't think it is just like a ghost knocking on the door or trying to connect with someone. I think it's way darker, way deeper, way more supernatural. Again, at least that's what it looks like. And with that trailer coming out, with American Horror Story trailer coming out, with that Lamb trailer, with Chucky, with Dexter, and then don't forget, we had the Halloween Kills trailer come out too, which was phenomenal. Oh my God. I mean, again, I don't think that we saw everything in that trailer. Everybody's like, oh, it was the first kill. We saw all the kills and we saw the whole movie happen right there in the trailer. Yeah, it looked like we saw like 11 kills in the trailer, but I do think that that's the opening scene or like the first 10, 15 minutes of the trailer. And like I said, with Endgame, they showed those trailers, even the trailers they were showing right before the movie came out. They were awesome. And they weren't showing anything past 15 minutes of the film. So anything you saw in those in-game trailers was only from the first 15 minutes of the film. And I'm really kind of sure almost that that's what we're seeing in the Halloween trailer, with the exception of maybe like a scene of Anthony Michael Hall here or there and all that, just to show you that he's in the movie as Tommy. But I don't think that we were spoiled at all. I think that there's a ton of kills in this film. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like 30 something kills in this movie. Halloween Kills is what it's called. And like I said, people have referred to this movie as Halloween on acid. I'm stoked about that. So guys, it's Horror Central right now. We got so many horror movies coming up. American Horror Story starting. Like I said, Halloween Kills comes out this October. I got a huge thing planned for October, which is going to be awesome. I'm still going to keep it a secret for just a little bit. I might start letting it loose in October or in August. I'll definitely start talking about it in September for sure. But I just want to make sure I can get it all done the right way before I do it. But it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I know we had a lot of hard talk there towards the end, starting off with Predator. But, you know, I like to cover everything, but I am a horror fan and I am a comic book fan. Those are my biggest ones. Those styles of films, or just fantasy films in general, that's where my heart lies. I do love all kinds of other movies, but that's mostly what I'll be talking about on here. And you know this. If you watch my channel, you know this. Which, by the way, check out my reviews, my hot, fresh popcorn reviews on my channel as well. And I still have this show coming out Monday through Thursday. Right now, I've been doing it at 1 o'clock. And I think I'm going to keep it there for right now. That seems to work better with my schedule. And I still think that's middle of the day enough to where at least all 6 of my fans can watch it, or at least 5 of my 6 fans can watch it at a reasonable time. So, guys, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I appreciate y'all so much. Everybody, love y'all with all my heart. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, don't you ever forget to make some hot, fresh popcorns. Oh, yeah! See you guys.